Now, who gets into what school and how has always been a hot button issue, and this time Georgia Tech is in the news for those very same reasons. And in order to make sense of it all, we have to put some things in context. My name is Joseph, and this is AJC in Context. Now, if you don't feel like watching me, or you just want to read Maureen's fantastic article from which this video is very heavily sourced, you can click right here. There's also going to be a link in the description. Now, Georgia Tech acceptance rates have gone down. That's not really what everyone's arguing about. What they're arguing about is who Georgia Tech lets in their school. And there are two main schools of thought around this. School numero uno is Georgia Tech does not do enough to show preference to in-state students. And the second one is Georgia Tech does do enough to show preference to in-state students. Now, we'll tackle the first argument first just because symmetry and congruency are my thing, even if they're just in YouTube videos. Now, in Maureen's column, which is linked down below, there is a letter from a reader, and this reader says the real problem are the college admissions staff. They say that Tech has hired far too many people who are not from Georgia and have no real attachment to the state of Georgia, deciding who does and does not get into Tech. The reader says, and I quote, "Bigotry of out-of-state staff here to save us all is why local kids with very high GPAs and test scores aren't getting into Tech." Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to have some numbers so we have a correct frame of reference. Now, as of 2016, Georgia Tech's acceptance rate was 25.8%. The average GPA of the admitted Tech student was a 4.0. They had a 35 on their ACT and a 1550 on their SAT. Now, if you juxtapose that with the University of Georgia, their acceptance rate is 53.9%. Their average GPA is a 3.9. Their average ACT score is a 29, and their average SAT score is a 1330. Now, let's move on to the second school of thought because, symmetry and congruency. And that is essentially Georgia Tech already does enough for in-state students. Fact, 60% of Tech students already come from Georgia, and 70% of the transfer students are already in Georgia. The school says it has created many pathways for students to eventually end up at Tech after a year or two at a different institution. Also fact, just as we saw from those numbers earlier, it is very competitive and very hard to get into Tech. Our very own Maureen said as much when she wrote this quote. One issue is the Georgia pool of applicants is getting better and better, so that makes competition stiffer even among the in-state students vying for admission. She went on to say, there is a value to Tech's increasing prestige in terms of research dollars coming in and quality of staff it attracts. The prestige certainly helps Georgia kids who graduate and land good jobs, which makes sense. So here are a few questions that I want to pass off to you guys. Has Georgia Tech become too elite? Do you want it in the same conversations as the Princetons and the Yales and other elite schools? Or should it prioritize in-state students to out-of-state students? Can it do both? Can it do none? I don't have the answers to these questions, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know any and all thoughts in that comment section down below. And hey, while you're down there, go ahead and press the like button if you like this video. It really helps out the channel. Go ahead and press that subscribe button if you haven't already. Press the favorite button if you really liked it. But as always, internet, my name is Joseph. This is AJC in Context, and I will see you guys next week.